Okay, welcome to everyone's favorite thing, formatting a paper. We are going to talk about American Psychological Association, otherwise known as APA formatting. And we are not using MLA, which is the Modern Language Association, because frankly, that is really just for English. It's almost never used in things other than English and maybe world languages. MLA is a perfectly fine formatting scheme, but if you are in medicine, if you are in business, if you are in education, if you are in science, you are almost always going to be using APA. So we're going to get you started practicing that by showing you APA formatting. So what I want you to get is three major things, and we're just dipping our toes. And here's the thing. You can get help with this all throughout your life. You can use online resources. You can go to the Writing Center. The Writing Center is the best place to go for help with this. Literally, you can say, I have my paper. Would you help me make it properly in text cited and the references pages and the look correct? But here are the three major things. The first is, how should the thing basically look? What am I looking at? What's the font? What's all that stuff? The next is, actually, I should have switched these, but we'll go ahead and do it in this order. What is the references page? So at the very end, what credit do I need to give to the sources that I used? And then also, how do I give credit to those sources inside the text? So basically, it's just a very kind of obnoxious, tricky way. It's not that tricky, but it's just obnoxious of keeping yourself honest about what sources you used. So it's the look of the paper, it's the end credits, and it's the within credits that we're going to be focusing on. So it's the American Psychological Association is the group that gives us these guidelines. And so when we're talking about formatting, we're talking about the standard look of the paper. And it is a standard way of acknowledging the sources throughout the paper. So it pops up, and then a standard way of acknowledging the sources you used at the end of the paper. So I want you to know that, and this is a source that I'm going to give you access to, apa.org gives you a lot of the resources you will need if you are confused. So I'm going to show you that if you click on that link, and I'll put it in Canvas, it brings you to this page, which is very important and very cool, because if you scroll down just a little bit, you have all of these resources that can help you out. What I would do immediately if I were you is go to sample papers and find a sample paper to copy the look of. So if you click this, you go down here, student sample paper with annotations. This is a great idea because it's what you're doing and it has annotations to explain what it's doing throughout. So you'll notice that the title page is not like a MLA where it's all on one page and it's the four things at the top and then the title. You have a separate title page. So you put the title of your paper, your name. You don't actually have to put the department for me, but you do need to put the class name, my name, and then the date. And this is all center aligned. Ugly, right? Am I right? Center aligned, and it's one page. You notice that the second page restates the title center aligned in bold. Who knows why? No one knows. No one cares. But you've done it. You have to copy this format. And you notice also you have page numbers at the top right, but you don't have your last name there. So you want to look at this and make sure that you are doing visually what it says. So this is the kind of work that you're doing on the actual formatting. Okay, so you'll see that it's the neutral font, 12 point, it's double spaced, there's a title page. That's kind of the major things here. Now, let's talk about acknowledging the sources within the paper. For you all, you will at least have two sources. One is the music video itself, which you have to cite, and another is at least one source that you are using for your support paragraph. So you will be referring to some sources in this paper. Right after you mention a source, so if it's the Rolling Stone article, if it's the Time Magazine article, you have to immediately put a parentheses. So you don't wait to the end of the sentence. You immediately put the parentheses and you put some very important information about that source. So if you say the name of the author, you immediately just have to put the year that it was published. Or if you don't say the author, you have to put their name with a comma, their last name with a comma, and then the year. And if you're doing a direct quote, you also have to put a comma, a page, p dot, and the actual page number. Now, if the piece does not have an author, you don't put the author because there is no author. You put the first thing that appears in the references page citation, which we'll talk about that in a minute. So I think the Rolling Stone article and the TED Talk, those do have authors, but the Time Magazine article does not have a listed author. So you're gonna have to do something slightly different for that. Okay, so this gives you the basics of after you've mentioned a source, including the music video. So in Janet Jackson's music video, then you're gonna put the parentheses, and you have to put the year because the author is Janet Jackson. So you've already mentioned it, you need to put the year. That is gonna be the way that works, and then that corresponds to your references page. So any standard in-text citation has an author, last name, and a year. But remember, you don't have to repeat the last name if you've just said it. So you don't have to worry about that. A couple of things to notice, and I will turn on the APA citation check on your Clarity writing space so it can help give you some suggestions, but you don't want to put your parentheses outside of the period. You notice this? You don't, when you're ending a sentence, you don't put your period inside here, you put it at the very end, like that. Same here. Well, this is for MLA. You also do not have to repeat your parenthetical citation. So if you, in one paragraph, if you've introduced a source and you talk about it and then you put that parentheses, you don't have to keep adding the parentheses after until you move to the next paragraph. So you do need to put the actual page number if you're using a direct quote in APA. Don't worry about MLA. A couple more. You can use a bracket if you need to change something about the quote that's very basic, like the capital letter or the tense of a verb. So let me give you an example. Our original article says a little dog with a capital A here. But if you are writing and you want to put that little quote into your sentence, you can make it into a lowercase so that it fits into your sentence. And then if you have a quotation within a quotation, you have to put a single quotation mark. Now, there are lots of other little things, but those are kind of the major ones. We've talked about what it looks like. We've talked about how to put the sources in between. Now we have this thing at the end called the references page. If you've done MLA, it's also called the works cited page. It's basically like when you watch a movie and you see the end credits, that's the same thing as this, except for instead of just their name, you have a lot of other information. So again, I have these links for you in the Canvas page, but you're going to be writing a citation for the Rolling Stone article and for the Time Magazine article and for the TED Talk and for the, or, you know, maybe if you don't use those, you don't have to write a citation for it. But these are the various options. You notice that I went ahead and did it for you. I don't even know why I did that, but here's what you do. For a basic news article or something from a periodical, you're going to have the last name, comma, the first initial, and this is the author. Then immediately following that is parentheses, and it's the date at which it was published. And then you're going to put the title of the article, no quotation marks, no italics, you're putting the title, and then you put a period. After that, you italicize the name of the publication, which in this case, this example is Newsweek. You also put the volume. So if there's a volume and then a number, so volume 2, number 1, this one is volume 153, number 24. And this is I think this is the page number that it is. I can't exactly remember. Yeah, it's the page number. It's the page number. Okay, so yeah. All right, moving on. So for the Rolling Stone article, this would be what you look at. And you're going to also include a URL if there is a URL there. So again, we have the author, their last name, their first initial, the date at which it was published, the title of the article, the title of the publication in italics. If there is no volume or issue, you leave it out, but you do want to put that URL there. You might have a book chapter. I believe this is the way you're going to, if you were to have a book chapter, this is the way you cite the book chapter. And there are ways to cite the visual media as well, and I will provide access to that. So the way I feel about citation generators is they're a good way to get started, but they might not have the fullest, best, most up-to-date way of having it so that it's correct. So you can start with the citation generator, but then use the examples that you have available to you on the APA website or online on a reputable source. Usually like an EDU website is one that's good, but we're using the 7th edition of APA. So good luck. That was a crash course in that. And it's just to give you an example of what you need to start doing.